I think there's several reasons why it's important for a destination. And for example, I could give you a US perspective first of all, and then I can try and transfer it more to an international other destinations application. So if we look at, for example, the USA now, food and beverage, eating, dining out, it's in the top 4 of reasons why people come to San Francisco. If you look at Napa Valley, which is very famous for wine tourism, you have an income of something like $58 billion per year. So that's massive, like $58 billion. And what I see as a trend is, of course, you often have wine tourism that can start in smaller places in smaller ways. And then you see some gastronomic tourism coming next door to it as well. So that's certainly the case we see in Sonoma. We see not just in Napa Valley, but there is many, many different destinations where you can see the two together. I think another trend we could see is that everyone knows about Napa, everyone knows about Tuscany. Now we might start to look at more unknown destinations, because it's pretty well known that everybody would go to Tuscany for food and for wine. But maybe people think that's a little bit saturated, it's a bit old hat now, and let's go and look for some secondary and tertiary types of locations. So I was up in Canada, in British Columbia, about 2 years ago, and this is not a place known for wine, but in Kamloops, and they've started to develop now wine trails there. I think professionalism in hospitality is just vital. And increasingly now people, although they travel to more distant places, they still often expect international standards. So it goes everything from just your first welcome, how do people speak to you? For example, are the standards acceptable standards of English? If people are not able to speak the local language, communication is very evident. You just have to have the whole infrastructure really of training, education, and a very good level of professionalism. I'll give you a very simple example. So I was traveling on Emirates Airways a year or so ago, and I asked one of the attendants for something. The attendant answered by saying, "Would you permit me a moment?" Very nice. I was in the US. I telephoned over some customer service. The person at the end of the line says, "Wait, wait, wait." You know, how ridiculous. How ridiculous. So if we could manage to have that level of expertise, whereby I'm not expecting everyone to say, "Would you permit me a moment?" but at least have some professionalism, have some way of speaking to the clients, and then have this level of expertise that international travelers would expect. I think language skills are very important. I think there are some basic technical skills that are very important as well, certainly in terms of wine serving, food service, of course in the kitchen, hygiene regulations, all these kinds of things that you would expect from any kind of regular destination. I think also then the soft skills are very important. And of course capabilities with information and communication technologies. Again, I keep giving you these examples, I hope they're useful, but I was in the brand new Istanbul airport, traveling to come over here. I had a long journey. Now what's the first thing that you expect to find in an airport when you get off the plane? It's internet, no? And if you don't have the internet, immediately then that becomes a disservice to the traveler. And by the way, even in a brand new airport, they did not have free Wi-Fi service, which is a real black mark, I think, in this day and age. So I think we have to be able to address the needs of young travelers now, who are expecting to have Wi-Fi all the time, along with people, if you're positioning yourself as a food and beverage destination, then you have to have these food and beverage and gastronomic service capabilities. I think this is an ideal role for any university now in the 21st century, rather than being this pretty traditional kind of institution where the professors are just mainly doing their research, that may not be disseminated very widely to the regular people. I think if you can serve as an intermediary between the public, between the entrepreneurs, and between the destination, then I think this is a very important role for a university for the 21st century. So being this kind of conduit that not only acts as an intermediary, but actually produces some material, produces research, and then advises the industry and their customers about the way forward.